What contributes to the high rate of deaths at initiation schools? And is the Eastern Cape failing to curb deaths of initiates? And what is the role of women at initiation schools? And are initiation schools still relevant in 2016? What time is it? It's question time. Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Mpotse. We're only a day after Christmas, but some families had and still have very little to celebrate. This owing to the number of deaths that have been reported of initiates, mainly in the Eastern Cape. This has once again brought to question the relevance of the practice and whether these deaths can be curbed. My guest today is a young woman activist and leader, Anile Mdashi. She's a social commentator who was born in the Eastern Cape, in Bizana to be precise. She joins us today not because she's an expert on initiation schools, but because she's a young woman, black woman, Xhosa woman from Bizana in the Eastern Cape, who has a view and an opinion on a lot of things that are happening in South Africa. But today we're going to just focus for a sec on this initiation schools. And you can call us and air your views 0891104210. Tweet us at question time 24. Anile, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
I must clear it out there so that people don't think now, you're an expert on Abakweta,
Yes. Of course not.
Definitely not. You are a social commentator. You were born in the Eastern Cape.
Yes.
Perhaps let's just look at, as a woman, and I want to look at this from a woman's perspective. As a woman, growing up, being born in the Eastern Cape, what did you think of initiation schools of boys?
Well, at first, I was not necessarily clued up as into what is it that boys get to be stolen and taken to that is not supposed to be known by girls. Up until I was at an age that I can be able to understand that us being brought up in different families, there are certain traditional and cultural practices and observations that are done, which some of them are specifically for a particular gender. And in this case, there was some circumcision for boys, which I got to understand that it's a very sacred and a very well-respected and a very highly dignified process in the Xhosa tradition, especially because it's a passage to which boys get to graduate from being boys into manhood, and they also get to be in a way schooled into manhood. What is manhood from a traditional point of view and from a Xhosa perspective point of view, and also what cultural obligations does one get to be given, or does one get to have to adhere to by virtue of having gone through the circumcision, which is the part that I think it's the most honorable thing about the circumcision aspect. Now,
you're a mother now.
Yes, I am.
Would you take your child to an initiation school?
Actually, my firstborn, Kwezi, has gone to the circumcision.
Why?
I think more than anything, my view is that, first of all, there should never be a time when a cultural practice should be static and not evolve. And I think the reason why I agreed to my grandmother and my elders when they spoke about Kwezi going through it was because it is part of who he is, firstly.
Okay.
That because circumcision forms part of the identity of the person. If it's practiced in the family, then it's part of who you are, and there can never be a time where you can be able to either erase yourself from the culture that is practiced in your family. So that was the one aspect that made me to agree to it. But also, it's important for me that as much as we are bringing up and we give birth to a younger generation under very fast-paced world in these current times, but our children must still know their roots in terms of cultural observations and practices, and they must also adhere to them and respect them, as well as also pass them into the generation of their children. Because if there would have been time where I would omit make my children from experimenting or experiencing certain things, it means I would be producing half-cooked people, and I don't want that.
Now, there are concerns. Obviously, there's a lot of deaths that have been happening.
Of course.
As a parent, doesn't it occur to you that this could have been my child?
For a moment, when you get to hear of brutal occurrences, especially in the traditional places where they go to. For a moment, you cease to breathe and be like, what if it's the one where my child is? But I must commend especially the government of Eastern Cape in this one, because they've really gone out to try and really run an offensive campaign and awareness program to say, where children are involved, let's have parents being able to have conversations with their children, and also having times that are agreeable between the two parties to say, look, this is your culture, this is your cultural practice that you are going to go through, and at no point must you go there without me giving consent, because I might not know what might come out of the process. And I think what is happening right now, we're just really having a misfortune of reckless young people who think that it's okay to do this their way and not with the consent of parents. And that's where maybe caution should go, that because I think parents are to a large extent roped in, and they are being responsible in how they are conducting themselves, especially in a manner in which they are actively participating pre and post the process itself.
But I am wondering, and I would actually want to just invite our viewers as well to just call in. What is it that these people are learning there? I mean, is it like there's some classes, or of discussions, or cultural education or traditional education? What is it which these boys are learning there? Because some parents have been complaining actually that these boys go there. I took Kwezi there, and somebody else comes back, some men basically who thinks, he's from the mountains and he can actually get his way around in the house. Somehow the attitudes change. But did you notice any difference pre and post?
Of course, I would be lying if I say I didn't. I did, but maybe the question that goes into what happens inside there. Tatunga ngomhla wamatanzima always say, never seek to know what is done that is not meant to be known by you. And as women, as you might know, we are really not able to get to know into deeper and finer details what happens there. I think for me, what got to be the satisfaction was just to know that precautionary issues have been dealt with, and there's nothing that is going to be scary that is going to happen to my child. That's all that I needed.
Okay. Tommy, you are in Limpopo. Tommy? Tommy? Okay. Do we have Tommy? Tommy?
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Firstly, I would like to greet both of you and respecting our African women.
Yes.
But I think you should have called maybe both genders, because now you're asking a woman about guys what they are doing in.
No, I'm not asking her, Tommy. All I'm saying.
You.
Okay.
But let me start by saying, this thing of Digoma and something like that.
Yes.
That thing actually it lost dignity, it lost everything, reputation and everything. That is why you see in today's day they will tell you that it's useless actually to take your children to go and risk their lives there, because it tends to be a business now. It's a business. It's no longer that thing our forefathers used to make it a secret and then make sure that people are not dying there. Immediately when you start making something that is cultural and then you start making it as a business, you lose a touch, because now you focus on money than people. So it lost everything. I wish our traditional leaders can find a way of maybe making it, I don't know, maybe they can just go to the hospitals or something, because now it does not work anymore.
Okay.
Because our children are dying there, and then when they come back, there is not even one person whose life sentence is jail life sentence because they killed people there. That's the problem, and they continue doing it. And because people respect our traditional leaders, respect our culture, they still go. If someone can just say, call your children, and then I will do the cultural thing, they still go.
Okay.
So my point is this. I wish our traditional leaders can combine, share ideas on this thing, because it's deteriorating, I'm telling you.
Okay, Tommy, thank you. Thank you very much for that point. And let me repeat, I didn't invite Anele because she's an expert. She's a mother who has a son who has been. And Anele is not one of those women who would keep quiet about things. So we brought her here because she speaks out about matters, and she is a social commentator. She's not a source of knowledge on that particular matter, but she's an experienced parent who has taken a child to the mountain. We're taking a quick break. When we return, we'll continue this discussion. Please do give us a call, and we'll be taking your calls. This question time.
We tell you about Africa's social media and technology landscape.
21st century economies rely on technology to truly thrive.
We have quite a comprehensive portfolio of interventions in the tech entrepreneurship space.
And Africans are using tech and social media to solve the continent's unique challenges.
App Nigeria is an online marketplace.
Radio Vibe is a social media platform for radio music.
That's Network with me, Spumelele Zondi, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. Ngatile, you are in the Northwest. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm calling from Volmaralstad in Northwest.
In Volleys. Welcome, Dad.
Yeah. For me, that the child, the boys must go to initial school. I think for me, for now, it's irrelevant. Most of them go to the initial school. When they come back, they digest something, like killing each other. For me, it's irrelevant, man. They can go to hospital. I think hospital is the best one now.
Okay, Ngatile, thank you very much. Well, you had an option of hospital.
Of course, maybe let me first deal with Tommy. I think we need people who understand in society that cultures are not for men, or there's no superior gender that owns or that has got a monopoly over certain cultures. Cultures are meant for society, and society is made by both women and males. So there shouldn't be any person of any gender who should subscribe, who should speak on what matter based on what. But the option of the hospital, it's an available option when there is no cultural observation and there's no cultural practice. Okay. When it's done, for instance, in KZN, there are areas when it's done for medical reasons.
Oh yeah.
And I think, like I had said earlier on, there is nothing wrong with having traditions and cultural practices that evolve. Our cultures can't be static, because us ourselves, we are not still standing on the 1850 or on the 1900s. We are in 2016. So there should definitely be. That's why, for instance, today you find that there's awarenesses that you have, there's precautionary measures that get spoken about. I mean, back in the days, you would never even have a woman being able to know when will my son go to the initiation school. But in this case, you will have parents knowing that in June, my son will be getting ready to go go to the initiation school because times have evolved.
Yeah, they're single parents.
Absolutely. And are you saying single parents should have certain men like Tommy appointing themselves to come into the households and now being a father all of a sudden just for the case of a circumcision? No. That woman must be allowed space in society to practice, to observe the practice if it's practiced in the family, and that should not be frowned upon. But also, I think if we are going to forever push foreign practices and observations into cultural practices, even when there is a room for us to remain pure with the practice for no apparent reason, that's how we get to dilute our cultural practices, and that's how they get to lose the genuinity and the virginity that ought to be attached to them.
Okay, so listen, you are in Mtata. Yeah, hello? Zwelisi? Okay, is Zwelisi somewhere on the line? Okay, Zwelisi doesn't seem to be on the line. But anyway, let's talk about the fact that you, as a young cosmopolitan woman, fine, you may have been born in the rural areas, but you are by no definition rural. You still insisted on taking this boy to the mountains.
Look, you're correct. As cosmopolitan as we can be, we've got a responsibility to bring up children who are in touch with who they are, and who know that tomorrow I might not be there and he will be having his own children. What practices will he observe for those children? So it was important for me that, not only because Kwezi is my firstborn, but because it's a tradition that is practiced in my family and in his family. So it's something that when I die, I won't die with it. I will die and live it. When he dies, he will die and live it. So for me, it was more important because it was the very first ever thing that he was going to go through as a family tradition. It was the very first initiation in all aspects, if I could use the word.
Now, is there a similar focus when it comes to the development of a young girl child?
Absolutely, there is. I know in the Eastern Cape and in other different cultural observations that are done by different tribes in the Eastern Cape. There is, for instance, a practice that is called Inkciyo. Inkciyo is where a girl is brought up in a process of observing her virginity in all aspects, not virginity in the sexual sense, but virginity in terms of also knowledge that is not being exposed to knowledge of issues that are not necessarily in comprehension with the age of a child. Like for instance, where you would say, let's go to an open meeting where you will discuss issues that a girl child would be like, okay, what are we talking about here? So there is that process, but also there is intonjana. Intonjana is also the passage that is specifically relevant to a woman, because that's how they graduate from being a girl child into womanhood. It's also a way in which a girl child gets to be, if I could say, in a woman way, circumcised into what is womanhood, and that is done in the woman way.
Okay. Dewey, Sekap.
I had a circumcision 52 years ago under the ice, and nobody is supposed to be dying in these initiations. Not one single child should die. It's the biggest mass murder since 1994 in South Africa. Almost 1,700 boys has died since 1994. And last year, more 101 died. That's more than 5 rugby teams. This year, in December alone, 28 died, I counted. It's the biggest scandal in South Africa's history. These boys were promised freedom. They never had any freedom. They were promised democracy. They never had any democracy. It's the biggest scandal in South Africa's history. And
What do you suggest should happen? Should it be?
They should do it in the clinics and the hospitals. That's why we were living in a modern time. We had a heart transplant 48 years ago. We had the circumcision in the Antarctic under the ice in the South Pole 52 years ago. Why on in heavens should young boys, innocent young boys, go to the bush to have a circumcision? You must have it in the hospital. Yes, circumcisions are very good things, but you should not have it in the veld and in the bush. It's the quickest way to die, and it's blatant mass murder, and nobody is persecuted for this.
So what about the traditional element to it and the cultural element?
They can have that in the bushes or everywhere over there. They could send them to the army to have that.
Okay.
That's quite different, but they should separate the circumcision from the culture. Circumcision has got nothing to do with culture and tradition.
Oh, okay.
The Jews also circumcise, and they do it in hospitals.
Okay.
It's absolutely, it's worse than Orlando in America. It's worse than Boko Haram. It's worse than ISIS. It's the biggest scandal in South Africa's history.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You know what? One of the biggest problems in this country is mentality of people like this caller, who think that he can speak on behalf of other people's culture, where he has not even given himself time to know the culture first before having a view on it. What does he know about circumcision for him to say there is nothing cultural about it? I think we ought to start respecting the fact that when you don't know nothing about something, you shouldn't even begin to think that you've got a slightest authority to speak about it, because he assumes that death in this country, the only cause of death in this country is circumcision. There's no such a thing. Every day, both in public and private hospitals, people are dying in this country. On the roads, people are dying. Where is circumcision there? And we can't have this perpetual, artificial obsession of certain societies in our country, giving themselves this too much power over other people, of knowing things that they don't know. I think the most humble thing that you must do is to look for the nearest Xhosa person where he lives and get to be accustomed to the culture and get to know the tradition before he can have so much strong views that are skewed, if I could use the word.
Okay. Boy, you are in Cape Town.
Hi, I'm Paul. Good afternoon to you.
Yes, welcome.
Paul, I'd like to concur with your previous caller.
Mm-hmm.
That suggested that you should have really actually brought in an expert that could really talk to these matters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that bringing Anela in the studio there has really actually articulated clearly what this practice is all about. And as a Xhosa man, I really take umbrage that a woman could actually talk about such issues. And yes, taking example, I think you should have really actually brought in an expert that could talk to these matters.
Okay.
Yes, I understand. Yes, you're saying that she's a mother, but really you asked a question as to what is it that is going on there, and I don't think that she can actually be able to answer those questions.
Okay.
I think you need to redo this program and get an expert that could really actually articulate clearly.
Okay.
What's really actually happening there.
Boy, thank you very much for the call. Point noted there.
No. I'm not going to take that. He's the last caller is just being plain arrogant, because if he can be asked what goes on into the initiation school, I can tell you now, he won't share, because it's not for public consumption. It's not for public knowledge. It's a sacred thing. So he can't come here and dictate who can speak. The only basis for me to know that there is something called circumcision is because I've got a son. He happens to be a boy, by the way. A son is a boy, can't be a girl. And if for a longer time of my life, I've been a single parent. Who knows, I might have taken Kwezi there when I was still a single parent. Do you want to tell me that I was going to need to take a train to Cape Town and get this guy to go and practice this on my behalf? Just so it can be accepted in society that no, Kwezi has done it the right way. He can't certainly impose that the only people in society that can speak about circumcision, it's people who know what happens inside or who are there. Because I made reference to the most respectable person in Eastern Cape, who is the leader of the traditional house of traditional leaders.
Yes.
He will tell us you will never know what goes in there because it's not meant for who is not inside there.
But also, I mean, my question was, you as a parent, did you notice any difference?
Of course, of course.
And I think our viewers must just also relax a bit there, because I wanted to know from a woman's point of view, because indeed, like we're saying, we live in a society where there are single parents today who are mothers only. And that's what we wanted to understand. And indeed, we will still have the discussion, and we will still talk to Anele on other matters as well. She speaks a lot about many other things, so we will definitely get her back on that. But that was question time for today. A big thank you to my guest and to you for watching the show only a day after Christmas. Aiba Khodzo.